Hey y'all, I'm Mike, the RV inspector and technician,
And I'm Elizabeth. I run our business.
and welcome to the Cozy Camper Podcast. But anyway, guys, thanks so much for being here. I'd love to talk about black tank stuff. I got a story I want to share with you guys because we just got eviscerated on the internet about black tank stuff. So I'd love to talk to you about it. But before we do that, could you guys just take a second and introduce yourselves so everybody can get to know you?
Sure. You want to start, Chris?
Yeah, my name is Chris Simpson. I am the technical advisor here at Unique Camping and Marine. I am a certified RV technician with a level 2 status through the RVTI. And then I also attended the NRVTA. So I've been to a couple of different things. Mostly I get to play around with RVs, break stuff, and fix them on camera so people can learn how to fix them themselves.
I will also add to Chris's credentials. He's also a certified septic technician, as well as the guy knows a lot about appliances. He did appliance repair for a long time. So it's kind of interesting because it brings a lot of different angles together. You have the water systems, both in RVs and septic. Then you also have all of the plumbing elements as well as the appliance elements. And it kind of makes Chris like the perfect jack of all trades for RVs, which like to break from top to bottom.
Constantly.
Yeah.
There's always, I feel like anytime that you drive an RV anywhere, you've just accrued an amount of damage.
Yeah.
It's cumulative damage, right? Like the more you drive it, the more you slightly damage it.
Right.
Correct. The longer the distance, the more things are falling throughout the RV as you're going over stuff.
Which is probably why I never really thought through this, but it's probably why so many people buy RVs and then take them out like 3 times a year, because it's like, I only want to do damage 3 times a year. I have to spend the rest of the year fixing.
Yes.
That is, I think you're right.
Yeah. So my name is Ricky Stewart. I'm the director of sales and marketing here at Unique Camping and Marine. We are primarily focused on RV and marine wastewater, but we also do all kinds of stuff around the world of bacteria. So we were early adopters in the kind of mid 90s of bacteria as a solution. And since then, we've done all kinds of plumbing products and pet products and stain and odor removers, as well as all of the wastewater products. So I'm part of the family. My grandfather started the company, and I have been working here so long that I don't even remember when I started technically. But there's still a few of us in the family here. I got one cousin who still works here, but outside of that, we've become a different family. We're not related now, but we got lots of people who've been here for a long time. It's a lot of fun. In fact, Chris and I have known each other for 30 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
Oh, wow. I did not realize that y'all were like a legitimate family and like close-knit business like that.
Yeah. I mean, for a long time, it was pretty much almost all family.
Yeah.
I like to make the joke because our CEO, Brian Hull, he likes to hire his family. So now it's mostly just his family who works here, but we still keep it family.
Yeah, it is true. I started the first time I worked here twice. The first time I started working here, I think I was like 17 years old, and it was through Ricky and his brother Al that I started working here. And I got my mom a job here, and she still works here as well.
Here.
Yeah, she's right back there. And then I came back in the technical advisor role after a longer career of fixing appliances and doing HVAC stuff. So, and it's been great to hang out with my buddy again. He took me to the first real concert I ever went to. So it's
What was the concert?
it was a Warped Tour.
Nice.
That's awesome. I think 1999 or something.
Oh, that's funny.
That's exactly. Yeah.
That's right around the time I went to my first Warped Tour. That's funny.
Nice.
And Lollapalooza. That's funny.
Oh yeah,
that's great.
Yeah. Well, we could go on a rabbit hole about Lollapalooza and how it's changed for sure, but no, but that's too funny. No, the thing about working with your family and friends is that it's like a blessing and a curse, right? Because, like Elizabeth, she is my wife. She works in the business with us, and we've hired our friends in the past. And it's like, Elizabeth and I are trying to like have coffee in the morning, and then we're talking about like leads and insurance. And I'm like, can we just talk about anything that's not, like tomorrow's inspection, for the love of God? And even I used to, I don't know if you noticed, I used to be in law enforcement, and all of my best friends were other cops. and we'd be going fishing, like talking about like arrests and stuff. I'm like, can we just do anything other than talk about this? And then when
Yeah.
you have a disagreement, like you don't get to leave, right? You're like, oh, we're in this together.
There's another layer to that too, which is funny because there are quite a few people who work here that are also just kind of longtime friends of ours. So we were just over at some friend's house for dinner last weekend. She works here, and to your point, you start talking about business, but then ironically, half the time we're sitting here at work, we're not talking about work. We're talking about friend
Yep.
life, and it's
Yep.
like now we gotta get that back. So yeah, you're right. It's a double-edged sword on both sides. It's funny.
Yeah, as you say that, because I was thinking about when I was still on the job in law enforcement. It's like, yeah, when we were at work, we would be trying to do anything other than be law enforcement, right? Like, yeah, like let's go fishing this weekend. Talk about how great the bass are going to be, and then we get there.
Right.
It's just funny the way that works. But you did mention one thing I wanted to ask about is the bacteria solution that you guys use. Admittedly, I don't fully understand it, and I don't think a lot of people do understand how that works and why it's important. Can you tell me? I'd love to know more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we first started getting into it, I mean, it was kind of the early days of bacteria products. I mean, obviously the world has been using bacteria for decades, but in commercial applications, I should say. But we were pretty early into it. And the reason it started was because my grandfather actually owned a janitorial supply company, and they would supply all of like the local kind of B2B businesses with whatever cleaning products they needed, or just a whole array of products. And one of the things that he kept hearing from apartments and condo complexes was that when people would move out, there would be these lingering pet urine smells they just couldn't get rid of in the carpets and in the floorboards and in the baseboards. And at the time, the concept was use a chemical, just jump in there, use a chemical, but it just wasn't doing the job. And if you kind of understand chemicals, and this is something I had to really wrap my head around, I, growing up, was kind of under the mindset that if I wanted to clean a surface, I had to, for some reason, go out and buy a product that I'd just spray on that surface and then I'd wipe it down. Never thinking about the fact that like I was just adding another chemical to an already dirty mess on a surface, and then I was just wiping it away and calling that clean. Bacteria are an interesting angle to that because they don't work that way. So bacteria are living organisms, and their very purpose in life is to stay alive. They're very, very, very adaptive, I guess is probably the best way to say it. You can throw bacteria into kind of any environment where there's organic waste. So organic waste is anything that's going to break down. And they will kind of tailor themselves to whatever that organic compound is. So for us, it's human waste and paper. But I mean, it can be anything to food, to wood, to, you name it. I mean, it's like anything organic, anything that's not man-made or synthetic, they will essentially find a way to use that as a food source to stay alive. So what he discovered is he could take bacteria, spray it on this carpet, and instead of just kind of chopping through the stain, the odor, whatever, and it coming back, these bacteria would actually eat it and consume it and get rid of it in its entirety. So that was kind of like the starting point. And from there, we really branched into a bunch of different things, septic, RV, as I said. But here's kind of the core concept around bacteria. There are tons and tons and tons of different strains of bacteria. If you've ever bought a probiotic and you look at the back, you'll see all the different strains. There's tons of strains. We take specific strains of bacteria that we then kind of build like chains of them. So some of our formulas will have a few bacteria, some will have 6, sometimes up to 8. And those bacteria, all they want to do is they want to live. So they want to eat, and that's how they basically stay alive. But the problem is bacteria are teeny tiny microscopic organisms. So let's just say you have a banana peel on the ground. You walk away for a few days, you come back, it's gone, biodegradation. Well, that's because bacteria did their job. Bacteria get on that banana peel and they want to eat it, but because they're so small, they can't necessarily just start chewing away. So most of them have this little tail, and they kind of whip this tail around, and as they do, they shed enzymes everywhere. So bacteria are actually little enzyme machines, and they spread enzymes all over. Well, the enzymes are non-living proteins, and that's actually a thing people get confused with a lot. Even in our industry, I hear people all the time who are supposed experts talk about living enzymes. There's no such thing. Living enzymes are it's a non
I think it's
sequitur.
yeah, misnomer.
It's a
in general,
misnomer.
yeah.
They are just proteins, and all they do is they can break big things down into little things. So they take the bigger pieces of that banana peel, for example, break it down into smaller bite-sized pieces, so then the bacteria, which are living, can eat it and consume it. And when they consume it, they exhaust whatever they exhaust. So if you have aerobic bacteria, that's what we kind of call good bacteria. Aerobic bacteria, when they eat, they're essentially exhausting carbon dioxide and water. So they can eat in the tank of the case of a holding tank, they can eat the poop and the paper inside there and literally exhaust carbon dioxide and water, which is odorless. If you have anaerobic bacteria, that's what's inside your stomach. So the difference between aerobic and anaerobic, aerobic live in oxygen rich climates, whereas anaerobic don't need oxygen. And you can imagine your stomach is not full of oxygen. Your stomach is actually devoid of oxygen. So inside your stomach is a bacterial playground. The problem is they're kind of what we call the bad bacteria. And the reason we call them bad is because they do their job. They break down the waste. That's what they do. They break down organic waste. The problem is when they break down the waste, since they don't use carbon dioxide, they can't release carbon dioxide. Since they don't use oxygen, they can't release it. They release hydrogen sulfide, and that's what makes your tank smell. So technically speaking, poop smells because of the bacteria that are living inside of it that are breaking it down and eating it and consuming it and releasing hydrogen sulfide. So with the smell that you're smelling is the breakdown of the waste itself. So what we like to do with our products is we try to send bacteria and targeted enzymes into the holding tank to eat the waste, and by eating the waste, they outcompete the bacteria from your stomach, which means they start to die off. They starve and they die off. And once they starve and die off, the good bacteria can eat all the waste, break it all down, and then they release carbon dioxide and water, which means you now have no clogs, no sensor problems because there's nothing holding on to it, but also no odors. And if you want, we can talk about kind of holding tank treatments at large and how a lot of pretty much every product on the market will tell you it will break down waste, it will break down paper, and it will eliminate odors. But just from a scientific perspective, their ingredients just simply can't do that. And the consumer is actually kind of misled on this a lot because every label will say that. But if you understand the science behind it, they're scientifically incapable of performing those tasks, which is why consumers, unfortunately, jump from product to product to product because they think, well, I tried that one, it didn't work. Well, I tried that one, it didn't work. I tried that one, it didn't work. Then they start to beat themselves up. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. I'm not doing it right. No, the truth is, truthfully, you're being misled by people who are putting claims on packages that can and never will be able to be accomplished with those formulas. So bacteria are incredible little things. I always joke about how if they ever gain consciousness, we would all be done in an instant because, man, they can morph, they can destroy, they're smart. The enzyme side of things is a whole other thing, and I will touch on that just real fast. We also do use in our products what are called extracellular enzymes. So these are enzymes that in a lab, we get bacteria to just make tons and tons and tons of enzymes, and then we scrape those enzymes. So in our products, you'll get a bunch of bacteria, billions of bacteria, but then you also get tons of extracellular added enzymes we add to it. And the reason for that is because if you can imagine, if a bacteria needs waste to break down before it can eat, if we can throw a bunch of enzymes in, that means that instantly, we don't have to wait for the bacteria to start shedding the enzymes. We can instantly jumpstart that process of breaking down the waste so the bacteria can come behind and start eating it immediately, which is why when we first started doing this, we would get really, really excited if we could break down waste, poop specifically, in 24 hours. Now we can break down poop in 3 hours, 4 hours. We can break down paper in 3 hours, 4 hours. I mean, paper used to be something we couldn't even break down at all, let alone fast. Now through extracellular enzymes supporting those bacteria, we can do it really, really fast if you have the right enzymes and the right bacteria, and then all of the right stuff to support all those. Does that kind of give a big picture? Is that, you got questions there?
That's the best answer I think anyone could have given to my question. That was very
Okay.
thorough.
Okay.
I do have a follow-up question. When you apply, so because I heard you say, switching tank treatments, is there a cumulative effect to using Unique like over and over again over a long period of time?
It's funny because there are some products in the market that actually tell you to not fully dump your tank. They'll tell you that you should kind of leave behind a little bit of waste, and they equate it to like a sourdough starter. It's this concept of like the mother bacteria stays inside there, and then that way there's something to kind of jumpstart the other bacteria when it comes in. As accurate as that can be in a scientific perspective, it's not really all that accurate in a practical way. Yes, you will start to see some accumulative benefits of using our products. I would say it's primarily in things like your pee traps, places where like bacteria is kind of sitting inside there. But inside the tanks, the honest truth is because of the nature and the shape of a tank, you really want to rinse it so much that when you're rinsing it, these are pretty non-porous surfaces, and they really are rinsing the majority of any left behind bacteria inside there. So yes, there will always be some bacteria, but I can't say it has a measurable effect of, over 5 years, you've built up this amazing biome inside there because you are genuinely cleaning and rinsing it out regularly.
I would add to that there, as far as like a cumulative effect, as far as using our products consistently over the year in general, though we do recommend to always rinse out the tank by filling it up and emptying it out. The fact that we're breaking down the waste in the toilet paper to a degree that it's able to be rinsed out, that's more the cumulative effect that I would apply to that situation, is just that, like, no, we're not leaving behind anything because we're trying not to, and that's that. So I would say overall, yes, there is a cumulative effect, but it's not from a bacteria standpoint.
Yeah. And sorry, I'll add one more thing to that too. I hear from customers a lot where, they'll have a problematic tank. Their sensors aren't reading correctly, and they feel like they've had a reduced capacity. It's not filling up. It fills up faster than it used to. And they'll get our products, and they'll come back, and they'll go, "Oh my gosh, everything's great. Like the sensors are working. I saw all of this brown stuff coming out that I've never seen coming out. I'm so happy." And then 2 months later, I'll get another email and they'll be like, "Holy cow, I thought it was really helping at the beginning, but now it just keeps getting better and better and better." Because there is also a scenario where if you've been using certain products, I don't know how much we want to mention products by name, but there is one product on the market that people do love, and it will virtually guarantee waste builds up inside your tank. And people who tend to switch from that product to this one, there can be so much hard caked, like stalactite level of poop inside these tanks that sometimes there is a cumulative effect of it takes weeks before they realize how bad it actually was, and it fully was able to etch through all of that old, dried, hard waste.
I've had conversations with the tank rinser types, the guys that come in with the sewer jetters, and
Yep.
I'm sure they're not tracking what product is being used, but they have told me exactly that they'll come out and they'll have to blast it, and it'll take hours to get through it all. And then I think about
Yes.
my own experience, and just so y'all know, like we adopted Unique like almost immediately in our RV journey, right? Like very early. I think for like the first maybe 6 months we used the Walmart stuff, and then and ever since then we've been fully Unique. And like literally we have never had a blockage. There's like we have that little see-through elbow. We can see
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
shreds of paper coming through. Like you're not seeing huge blobs. And so that was kind of driving at the question that, and you answered it, because I'd seen like, oh yeah, my product, you want to leave a little bit behind, and in my mind's eye, I'm like, well, leaving stuff behind, like, why do I want to do that? It should all be coming out as like a slurry almost, right?
Yep.
And like I don't, and I feel like that's a time you're gonna get smells as you have the exposed iceberg, right? So,
Right.
And so that claim didn't make a lot of sense to me. And for y'all's awareness, like we have 2 RVs. The other RV had been in storage for like more than a year, and I've taken it to Dallas. I was in it for a couple days, and that didn't have any problems with it. But I'm going to be gone for it for like a week, and then I have to go back for like 3 more days. And I was like, oh well, let me take, I'll use it as normal, and then at the end, I'm going to take the y'all have like the deep cleaning that you're supposed to let sit for days.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I poured that in there, so it's going to have like 10 days of storage,
Marination.
and that's kind of like exactly.
Yeah.
And we're going to go away this weekend, and we're going to do it on this tank too. That's been like the only kind of tank maintenance I've really needed to do in any of our RVs, because we see that. But that I see what you're describing with the competitor products where they say leave it behind, and then maybe every now and then I'll see a comment on Facebook like, "Oh, I had to have my tank hydroblasted," and my question is always like, "Well, what product did you use?"
Yeah.
And it's all. I'm not gonna. I know what product you're talking about, but
Yeah.
but it's like I see like.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Oh, okay.
No,
I was going to say like, you go ahead. I defer to you.
All right. No, what I was going to say is that it is interesting because there's a number of products that are on the market who align themselves with the bacteria first concept. We are supporting what's happening inside the stomach, just doing it in a less stinky, more effective way. And there's also a lot of products in the market that take this idea of like, no, you should actually be antimicrobial. You should kill all the bacteria inside there. The logic behind that is, well, if we can stop the waste from breaking down, we stop the smell from coming out. But then that also causes, obviously, clogs and backups and compacted tanks and all that kind of stuff. So, and then there's even people who are doing everything right and they just don't think about it, and they go put their RV in storage with a full tank and come back and go, holy cow, now I have 30 gallons of dried solid waste. Or they go away for a little while and don't realize they have a slow leak in their valve, and the liquid drips out, and they come back to a big old chunk of hard waste. So there are people who are doing things right, but then also just kind of make mistakes.
And that's something which has like been really, I think, important when it comes to like some of the videos which we've made and put out there is also just kind of reinforcing the steps which are required to make sure that you're going to have the best success rate with your holding tanks in general. And, if there's one thing that I think most of us can ever leave behind with somebody who's especially new to RVing, it's like, you're going to want to use a lot of water, because water is going to be the breeding ground for the bacteria to do well in, to survive in. And then you don't want to have the porta potty effect, which is anytime the waste breaches above that water level, your vapor barrier is null and void. So the fact that we can get out there, and then we've got really cool tools at our disposal, such as like a clear holding tank, where we can start showing people, okay, well, this is an actual liquid level, and this is what it looks like when it breaches over that. And the fact that you can actively make a change in that by simply adding more water to it and cooling down your tank, that coupled with using the correct product makes a world of difference as well.
Yeah, we talk about that all the time, how successful holding tanks are kind of at the intersection of the right products and the right process. If you have the right process but the wrong products, you'll go pretty far, but you can't go all the way. And if you have the right product but you don't do it the right way, same story. So it really is a combination of knowing how to do it and using the right products. And Chris is right. It's funny. I mean, I can tell you, if I walk into someone's RV and they're like, oh, my smells, I can literally be like, here, let me show you a magic trick, and just put water in their tank. And all of a sudden they're like, whoa, it doesn't stink. Well, that's because your poop was above water. There's no way to control. If you have a water level here and your poop here, it's just a mountain of gassing poop. Simply by taking the water over it is going to take a lot of that problem away. It's these little processes that matter.
It's also been extremely, I think, helpful in education for other people to start to see the actual anatomy of a holding tank. Yes, they're not particularly complex devices, but the fact that they have ledges so they can sit on frame rails in order for them to stay put inside of the RV, a lot of people don't know that that's a thing. And then while they're driving it to get to a dump station or something like that, if some of that waste migrates from the liquid on the inside of there up onto the ledge, once you dump it, you've just exposed it to the air again, and that can be an issue when it comes to odors. So being able to kind of, show behind the curtain as to what exactly a holding tank anatomy is and what it looks like and what you can expect from your RV, that showing people, like, we now, whenever we're going to like a trade show or a rally or anything like that, we bring holding tanks with us just so we can show them, like, this is what it is, this is what it looks like, the veil has been pierced, this is, you know, like, this is, it's not that complex, but like, you still have people who are just like, oh, I had no idea it looked like that inside. It's like, yes. And that's like extremely helpful to then you can apply the logic of like the correct processes on top of this. And the other thing, which is like another thing, which I think I didn't know this when I first started working here, if I'm completely honest, like everyone learns things at different times. And one of the things which I didn't know was like, oh, you have to manually fill up the toilet yourself to create a vapor barrier. So many people don't know that you can even do that, that it's like, we've even had RVers who have been RVing for like 10 years and like, oh, you can do that?
Yeah.
And I mean, like, this is another way which you can add value without even requiring almost like a purchase. It's just like, yeah, there's like some cool stuff which you can do easily in order to make your life as an RVer so much easier.
Yep.
You know, as a guy, I make a lot of content that doesn't have anything to do with RV inspections, our core business, right? Because I believe in RV owner education, because there's so much bad knowledge out there, and a prevailing thought in this industry is, well, that's the way we've always done it, so it must be right.
Right.
And, you know, I'll make videos where I've talked about some of this stuff in videos, right? Where we made a video the other day where I talked, like, yeah, just like kind of just gently depress the foot pedal and you can fill up your toilet, and you can do that a couple times if you want and flush it. Here's the benefits of that. And the comments came from me, like, I just asked them to like disconnect their leg, right? Like some people were so angry. They're like, no, I just use a bucket. Like, that's fine. You can use a bucket if you want, but like, you know, it's I don't really want to have an extra bucket in my bathroom if I can avoid it, right? Like you could just fill it up this way, or like, you know, or then, you know, I've literally made graphics before where I show the water, and people will get in the comments and be like, I've left my black tank open every day for 25 years and I've never had a problem. Dude, maybe you don't have a sense of smell, right? Like, I don't, like, maybe you like, maybe you like were blown up in war and your nose doesn't work anymore, right? Like, I don't know what's going on, but
I can tell you, we hear that one all the time. And I can also tell you, well, you know what? You've been lucky. It's a matter of time. You will have a pyramid plug. It's going to happen. I also was a full-timer for a while. And one of the campgrounds that we stayed in Southern California, it was a lot of older people who left their black tank valves open. And what they didn't also realize is that the poor maintenance dude who ran the park was constantly having to manually clean their tanks for them. They thought for years that everything was fine. It's like, you talk to him, he's like, no, it wasn't fine. I have to clean her tank 6 times a year. So, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. And the truth is, if you're leaving your black tank valve open, you can tell me all you want to tell me, but we'll still be here when you have a clog. We'll help you because it's going to happen.
You can not only plan on but guarantee that it's going to happen.
Yes.
Like, why do you think Tank Rangers and I forget the other one, but like, why are they selling franchises? Because Clean Tank. Like, why are they selling franchises, and every franchisee does well because of exactly this, right? Like, you get people that think, and they a lot of times they genuinely don't know any better. They weren't trained when they bought their RV. You know, I'm not knocking those people. Other folks are completely resistant to ideas, and like, I've seen your videos where you have like the big tank, and like, I think that's great. And like, what I want for you to do is to take it one step further, where like, you literally have to mind meld this information into the RV owner's brain, because like absent that, I don't know how we could possibly reach more people with like this simple thing. And it's like, you know, people will rag on us when I say like, yeah, you should use Unique. I put like, you know, however many capfuls in a week, a bottle lasts me this long. This is how I dump it. And they'll be like, you know, I'll talk about rinse. We made a video about rinsing your tank, and boy, did the comments come for me on that one. And like, you know, like, I got eviscerated in the comments to the point where I was doubting myself. And my wife looked at me. She's like, we've never had a black tank issue, so you're probably onto something. You know, I'm like, I know. And also, I've listened to the guys from Unique, and I've talked to Tank Rangers, and they all say the same thing. Why am I getting doubt from you know, Joe Schmo here?
Right.
You know, that's the drama that I encounter.
It's the drama that we encounter, I mean, daily. Our poor social media folks, I mean, they have some very thick skin, and they are very kind people, because, you know, it doesn't do us a whole lot of good. I mean, here's an example. If people come to us and say, hey, what should I use in the gray tank? A lot of times, most of the time, our out of the box answer is you should use nothing in your gray tank. You can put our product in. We have instructions in there because most people want instructions. But the reality is, if you're using your gray tank correctly, if you're cleaning your gray tank correctly on a regular basis, you shouldn't need a product. AKA, don't give us your money. And you would have thought that we just, put their address on the internet and ask people to personally go TP their house. The anger that comes out of these people for us telling them to not pay us is crazy.
Yeah.
We see it on gray tanks when it comes to leaving the tank valve open. We have done a million different tests on this, and everyone has their opinions on it, but I can honestly tell you, even some of our really valued partners would disagree with this because they haven't done the tests that we have, and we don't fight it. It's just a matter of us kind of putting it out there. But the majority of people who are camping in a full hookup scenario can leave their gray tank valve open. That's just the reality. You build a P-trap so you don't have any sewer gas that's coming back in. Obviously, if you're in a campground that has sewer flies or something, don't do it there. You don't want those coming in, but you can pretty quickly tell if there's sewer flies. And if you get them, it's not that hard to get rid of them. But for most campers, you can leave your gray tank valve open, which means you can use your washing machine and you can use your dishwasher and you can take showers that last for more than 15 seconds. And there's no ramifications to it. All you have to do is build a P-trap. And when you go dump your black tank, you use your mind, and a few hours before you close your gray tank to build up a little water inside there. So you can use that little bit of gray tank water to rinse your black tank hose. There's a lot of logic out there that for some reason really gets people upset, and we can sit and show them in videos, show them in real life what we're saying, and they still rally against it.
And then when you make those comments, like the comments which come in are like, you have essentially just blasphemed everything that they've ever known, and you're like, guys, let's just leave the tank open. And if you don't want to do it, you don't have to. Why do you have to get so angry about it?
You just presented it like an argument, right? You said like, hey, this is why we think it works. If you don't want to do it, this other way works too. It's up to you about what you want to do.
Yeah.
And that's almost the most hateful way to present something, like from their point of view, because like they either want to like be told on authority you should do it this way or you shouldn't. But being like, hey, here's the pros and cons. You can kind of do what you want to do. Like I've made videos before where typically if I make a video where I recommend something, I can point to like, if I'm talking about tanks, if Unique says something, I'll be like, oh, Unique says you can do this. So that it's not just the Mike show saying, go do this stuff. So I usually wait for somebody smarter than me to make this claim, and then I look at their evidence, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. It looks like they're on about it. They have no reason to lie. So, but I'll be like, you know what? Like we were in a park that had sewer flies before this one, and so I was like, well, we're not a candidate for open gray tank here because there's sewer flies. Yeah, this park doesn't have them. So, but it's. If somebody is mentally committed to open black tanks or a specific product, no amount of money they're going to spend on black tank cleaning is going to convince them of. No. We at this point have made hundreds of videos about RV inspections where I'm like, hey, I did an inspection. Here's what I found, right? And I, to this day, will get dealer employees and technicians in the comments being like, no, we would have found that during inspection. And it's like, how many times, literally millions of views, we do more than 1 million views a month. How many times do I have to show you this before you're like, oh, okay, maybe there's something to what this guy is saying. Like, I don't know. Right. How many plexiglass black tanks do you guys have to show how this works before like, the public finally is like, oh, maybe Unique kind of knows what they're talking about.
I will say, I will give the public a little bit of grace here because first and foremost, they don't live in this world the way we do. They're just kind of seeing stuff that's coming in and coming out of their social media feed or a newsletter or something. So they're not as invested as we are. And I will also say this. They are getting conflicting information from conflicting supposed experts.
That's true.
Yeah. You had just talked about tank rangers and clean tanks. Tank rangers, let me first say, we are huge advocates of having your tanks professionally cleaned.
Mhm.
We talk about our products or really routine maintenance in the context of toothbrushing. So, your holding tank treatment is like your daily toothbrushing. Like you do that every day. It takes care of 80-90% of your problems, right? So you do it all the time. Great. Well, still once per year, twice per year, you want to deep clean your teeth. So you go to a dentist and they're doing inspections and they're looking and they're making sure everything is fine. So we have a product called Clean It, which you can do it yourself. Or if you opt to use a holding tank hydrojetter, we are huge advocates for that. Let that dentist get in there and deep clean and see if they see anything. But here's the thing. You have kind of two camps there. The Tank Rangers folks, they've partnered with Liquefied because they talk about how you should use a holding tank treatment. And they are correct. You should try to do the best to break down waste so that when it comes time to clean it, there's not big, giant chunks of stuff to get through. The guys on the clean tank side, however, are just sticking to their guns on this pine sol thing. And what they are claiming is that by killing the bacteria inside of the holding tank, your poop will remain in solid form. And they claim that by keeping it in solid form, you don't develop what they would call a pancake batter sludge that starts to build up inside the tank. Now, I can tell you as a person who has been on site at many tank cleanings, pancake batter comes down to one thing, and that's water usage. I'm going to tell you right now, if I take a jar, we've done videos of this. If I take a jar of 100% pine sol and I put poop in it, just slight agitation, the liquid itself is going to cause the poop through manual agitation to start to fall apart. So their concept of using pine sol to keep poop together is not accurate. And if you happen to ever see a video where a poop comes out solid, that's probably because it was just created a few minutes before that tank cleaning happened. It's a freshie. That's why it's solid. Otherwise, it's coming out as a batter. However, if you use plenty of water, it comes out with no problems at all. So first and foremost, this concept of using pine sol, which, by the way, we've reached out to pine sol, and guess what they say? Never put it in a holding tank. It should not go in a holding tank.
That was a very fun conversation to try to have with the people at Pine Sol, because you call into their, kind of customer support line, and they were like, "Wait, what are you asking?" And I'm like, "If I were to take Pine Sol and mix it with well, like a water softener and flush that into my RV's black water holding tank," and like the person on the line was genuinely confused and like, "Why would you do that?" I was like, "Oh, because I'm playing dumb here. Like I'm trying to like get an honest answer from Pine Sol to be like, well, I've heard from other RVers that like in my campground that like that's the best way to keep waste in my holding tank. Like, they're like, don't put Pine Sol into an RV black tank. Please don't do that. That's never was its intended purpose. It's a cleaning product for floors." And that's like where I left it, was with a very confused customer support representative from the very company that they're saying like, you should use Pine Sol, and Pine Sol's like, why would you do that?
But see, that's what the consumer's up against, though, because they hear an expert who's saying do it this way, and they just haven't happened to see our videos yet, or they've been seeing those videos for so long they think it's true.
And they're seeing compelling evidence. I mean, if you're out there next to a holding tank cleaning company and they've got a hydrojetter up inside there, you can bet that they're going to be knocking free some waste inside of there. And you're going to be seeing waste going past a clear fitting. And so if you're seeing that and somebody's saying, oh, only use Pine Sol and Calgon beads, why would you not question that? Because, I mean, if you're seeing it go rush past and
You feel like it's working.
if you feel like it's working. But unfortunately, if you do end up going with that direction, it's almost a guaranteed way to require their services again in the future,
Right.
which is really frustrating from like a standpoint of like genuinely wanting to help people like not have problems with their holding tank. And we've talked with holding tank cleaning services a lot of the time. We just had a great video where a holding tank cleaning service came out to our warehouse with their equipment and did a deep cleaning inside of our clear holding tank so we can show exactly what's happening inside of there. And in speaking to them about the Pine Sol thing, they're like, yeah, we don't understand they recommend that. It's just frustrating all around for all of us.
Yeah. So I guess to boil it down, it's just the consumer is also trying to wade through all this stuff too. So, it really is us just trying to have a cumulative, like over the years, more and more videos, more and more guides that just kind of help dominate that conversation, where we're not telling you to do something like put pine sol in your tank because it's a backhanded way to need us to come out more often. We're doing it because, quite frankly, we call it source of truth. We feel that there's a lack of source of truth on the internet when it comes to this topic. And there's a lot of times where we actually kind of actively steer people away from buying our products because we want them to understand the truth that you don't need a product in this scenario. You can do this manually, or you can do this without a product. I mean, an example would be rinsing tanks. Everybody is convinced that they need an onboard tank rinser or a wand or a reverse flush system that mounts outside and shoots back up into the tank. And, you can't see it, but we have 3 holding tanks right over here that are movable. We can see every part of it. We have several of our clear holding tanks. We also have tanks that we don't really show on TV because they're kind of proprietary or on the internet. They have the ability to make them super hot, or we can cool them down. We can check carbon dioxide levels, hydrogen sulfide levels. We can basically recreate camping in the Arizona desert in July or camping in Maine in spring and see how water affects things and how products affect things and toilet paper affects things. So we've played with this stuff a lot. And, one of the big takeaways is rinsing. Quite frankly, the best way to rinse a tank, I mean, it's kind of like if you were to, let's say you had just eaten a bag of walnuts and you have a bunch of chunks inside there. Are you more likely to take a single sprayer and just spray it inside your mouth in a bunch of areas? Or are you going to take a big gulp of water, fill your mouth, swish it around, and then spit that out? The simple concept of filling a tank all the way up and then opening the valve and letting it rinse out will rinse your tank exponentially better than any onboard rinser, wand, reverse jet, any of them. And it's free. You don't have to buy a thing. But there's always those people who don't want to hear us say that, So we're battling. That's the source of truth element that we try to stick to, which is we ourselves hold ourselves to a standard where, I mean, there's things we've had to change our minds on. We actually kind of came back on, should you drive in a tank with a tank that's full? There's a lot of people who drive with tanks that are full and have no problems with it, whether it's short distances or long distances. But the more, to your point, like, finding the experts, the more we got connected with holding tank manufacturers, the more we realized on a, macro scale, this does have problems. So we actually changed our opinion to officially say, no, we don't think you should ever drive with full tanks. So we do, adjust as we need to, because we try to stick to that source of truth.
And I think I think that it's important to start looking towards people who are like willing, some people will state that, well, you changed your mind on that, so everything what she said must be wrong then. And I think it's more valuable to have somebody who's willing to learn as they're going about something and be like, hey, this is, we hooked up with this holding tank manufacturer and this is what they state, and we're going to stick with that because, let's be honest, we don't know everything about everything. So,
well, you can get presented with new information all the time, right? Like
absolutely.
some new, like you guys build some weird holding tank that you can pressurize and test that no one's ever done before. You discover something like, oh, wow, unique, release some new guidance. I should probably listen to it because I can't see what's going on inside my tanks, right? I don't have a testing rig. I academically understand how they work. And, I don't want to get too far afield, but it's like people get torqued out of shape with their slide outs about whether they should lubricate them or not, right? And it's like, well, the guidance has changed a couple times, and it's like, well, here's the current understanding of the situation, which over time and hundreds of iterations is likely to change again, right? So it's like, hey, in 2025, this is our best understanding of this process and why it's important, but like maybe next year some revolutionary new invincible holding tank comes out and you can do whatever you want with it, right?
Right.
Maybe that's your proprietary tank you don't want to show on camera, but
Maybe.
it's like but it's like, all right, well, cool, absent that, then like let's just like try to ask some people who know what they're talking about, and then maybe adjust our behavior a little bit. But yeah, no, it's especially when, and I was having this conversation with another content creator recently, I feel this like sense of responsibility about what I put onto our channels. And you were talking about how like some people maybe have a negative interest and they want to create work. Nothing would please me more if RVs came from the manufacturer in better shape than they do today.
Right.
I would be thrilled. I would love it if RVs were in such good shape when they came off the line that RV inspectors were irrelevant. That would make me so happy. But it doesn't seem like that's likely to occur, right?
Right.
But like I feel a responsibility to. I'm not going to oversell or undersell what I see, because from my point of view, there's enough that I can justify the existence of the RV inspection, right? Like what I'm hearing from y'all right now is like, hey, there's enough tanks that we can solve with our enzyme-based cleaner that we don't have to like make an alliance with the tank cleaner types. And in full disclosure, I've had one of the Tank Ranger franchisees on the podcast. He was great to talk to. I was camped next to the owner of a rival tank cleaning company for like 5 months, and I invited him on the podcast several times to talk about exactly this, and he declined me every time. And I'm going to assume positive intent. Maybe he just doesn't like the camera.
Yeah.
But like what you said about like the pancake kind of, I call it the slurry. That's what you want. Like you want it to come out like that. Like I don't, and like when I use Unique, that's what I see through my clear little window out of the tank. Like, so when I've heard people in the past say like, oh yeah, it turns into this pancake stuff, I'm like, yeah, but have you ever like cleaned your pan after you make pancakes? Like you put water in it and then you drain it.
Rinse it away.
Yeah, exactly.
That's optimal, right?
Right.
I've never understood that argument, guys. Like, to be totally truthful with you,
there's no logical. I can't think of a scenario ever where if you had a large group of, take a cake, right? If you had to pour a cake down a drain, you're not going to just try to keep the cake as solid as possible. You're going to use water to break it down so it can flow out of your sink down the drain.
Yeah,
like
getting it through a smaller hole. You certainly want the bits of cake to be smaller, not larger.
I think where if there is a frustration on my side, to your point of if they could just roll RVs off the factory floor and they'd be in pristine shape, you would champion that all day long. We are advocates for having your tanks cleaned. So for those companies out there who are saying that you should follow these weird processes, why don't they just be intellectually honest to the consumer and say, we're not going to lose business if we tell you how to do it the right way? Because the guys like those guys over at Unique are already saying, still hire us. You don't have to destroy your tanks to hire us. You can actually keep them in optimal shape and then still have them clean because we are advocates for it. And that's where I get frustrated because I'm like, guys, we're on the same team here. Like, don't give the customer misinformation because all it does is cause confusion. And that's why you have people who come in with these strong opinions because they're confused.
Well, even like there would still be enough business in the tank jetter community just for people that like made a mistake and needed an emergency cleaning. Right?
Absolutely.
I forgot to close my black tank valve, or my black tank valve is leaking a little bit and all the water drained out. Like that business is still going to be there. And that's like kind of what I'm like from us. Like, yeah, the used RV market will still exist. So there'll always be RVs to inspect, right? Like, I don't care. And like some people are, it doesn't matter to me. Like, it does. I would love for it to be better. And so like, if you're the tank ranger, the clean tank folks, it's like, there's always, are plumbers going to go out of business? No, they were stoked when the flushable wipe was invented because they're like, sweet, unlimited. Yeah. But they're the first ones to say like, hey, don't flush this. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and you're right. I mean,
Unique.
people who don't have a problem because of, leaving a valve open, if you have a stationary unit, if you're the kind of person who by your very nature boondocks for very long periods of time and you are highly restrictive on water, I mean, we go down to Arizona and you see these people who will go down there for the entire summer and they'll only pump their tank because they're stationary. They're not going out and having it dumped. They have a guy coming and dumping the tank for them, pumping it out. And they'll do it 4 times in 5 months. And you're like, how much water are you putting in there? And in those scenarios, you're going to have these things manually jetted at the end because you're just doing massive amounts of damage that has to be fixed at some point. So you're right. There's 1,000. Even an RV that's slightly parked off of level, out of level, is going to have low spots, and that waste is going to start to build up. There's 1,000 reasons why they would still have a lot of business.
There's enough mechanical failures which can happen that will lead to there being plenty of issues with RVs in general. It's not just limited, of course, to holding tanks. It's like everything along the line. You can have pretty much anything fail on an RV at any given time because we're moving something down a road at speed or sitting in a place for longer than a manufacturer had ever intended it to be. Yeah. There's always going to be mechanical failures, which will require more aggressive solutions for sure.
Every time, right? Like that's the nature of any mechanical business. Yep. Like you can do maintenance all you want, but eventually something might happen that's more catastrophic, and no amount of maintenance can overcome that. Yeah. I hope as we talk about, I'm working really hard on it personally to always assume positive intent. And, I try really hard, and I don't want to believe that there is like actually a conspiracy to like intentionally and knowingly clog tanks. But like, based on the evidence at hand, I have to concede that is at least a possibility, to do exactly that. I'm sad to say.
I would say, I tend to agree with you. I try to find the best in those people. And I have talked to a lot of the individuals who do this, and they're just taking the information that was given to them too. So even a lot of the guys who are out in the field, they were trained by an owner of a hydrojetting company about these facts, and they believe them because they believe that person. So even the good people who are out trying to do the cleanings, who will tell you to put the pine sol in, if you gave them a bit of time to kind of walk them through it, I think a lot of them will go, oh wait, this doesn't seem right. I see what you're saying. But, I think even they were kind of misled by these kind of, these ideas.
There's like a few people out there who have potentially some malicious intent, and unfortunately, like incorrect trainings in certain aspects can lead to non-malice bad advice. You know, like I think that I definitely tend to agree with both of you that like, I think that for by and large, a lot of these people aren't saying this to be malicious in any way, shape, or form. It's just they had bad advice to start with, and that continues on down the road.
I will say there are a few little quick things that we can throw out there too that just kind of are really helpful. I mean, if you watched this video long enough and you kind of trust the things that we have to say based off of our source of truth kind of commitment, there are some things to know that are like kind of some easy things to know. So for example, when you are having your tanks hydrojetted, it has to be a strong hydrojet. If you have an electric tank, electric pressure washer coming out, the right person who knows what they're doing can get the job done. It's just going to take 3 or 4 times as long. So if you are going to have your tanks hydrojetted, you really need to get somebody who's got an actual gas-powered pressure washer that can get into the 3,000 and 4,000 PSI zone, not in that 2,000 or 1,500 to do the job. That's simple. So if you're going to hire a person to have a hydrojet, just make sure that they have the power to do it. When it comes to your actual holding tanks, I can honestly tell you there's a number of different treatments. You have mineral-based treatments like Happy Campers. You have chemical-based treatments like Camco TST. You have enzyme-based treatments like Liquefied. And you have bacteria and enzyme combination products like ours. Throw away the mineral, throw away the chemical. They will do nothing. They will literally do nothing inside your tank other than potentially kill some bacteria, which is a problem in and of itself. That leaves you with enzyme and bacteria. Focus on those 2 types of treatments. We would obviously argue that bacteria are a lot better than just enzyme, because if you have, let's call it 100 million enzymes per treatment, which is a lot of enzymes, you'll only have 100 million enzymes. But if you have 100 million bacteria, give it a few hours and you have 100 billion and then 100 trillion, because they're replicating constantly. So
And then
first and
those
foremost,
bacteria are also making enzymes
making
as
enzymes,
well.
right?
So we're replenishing that which is being used.
So I would say start with an enzyme and bacteria product. Second, water, water, water. Keep your poop underwater. Hold your flush pedal down for a count to 10 every time you go to the bathroom. That will make sure you're using enough water. If you have a smell inside your RV, don't go buy a product. Don't go hire a cleaner. Just add some water and you'll be shocked to see how much that solves the problem. Second off, make sure you do in-between maintenance. Routinely deep clean your tanks. You can use a product like ours, clean it, or you can have a hydrojetter come out. But once a year, twice a year, if you're a full-timer, get those tanks cleaned up. And then don't forget about your toilet bowl, because a lot of times you're using good products to clean your tank, and then you go to clean your toilet bowl with a caustic cleaner that is not only killing bacteria because you're using, Clorox or some type of a cleaner, a harsh cleaner, an acid, but it's also damaging the seal inside your toilet. So make sure you clean your toilet with a bacteria-based cleaner as well. If you follow these basic methods, good treatment, lots of water, routinely have them deep cleaned, and use a good toilet bowl cleaner, this stuff is not rocket science. It's very, very simple.
And I would add to that, keep water in your bowl. And to your argument previously, doesn't really matter how you get it there, as long as you get water in the bowl. If you want to hold down the pedal and fill it up that way, great. If you want to use a bucket, great. I don't really care. Just put some water in the bowl.
Keep that
because
barrier.
that is a vapor barrier, and that's what P-traps are intended to do, and that's how they work. So,
Well, yeah, and guys, I want to kind of underscore this, and I want to make a disclaimer first. Unique has never sent me one single bottle of product. Everything I'm about to talk about, I have purchased at my own expense. So I don't want to hear in the comments like, "Oh, he's getting paid to say it's negative." So no, for us, we've used Tank Unique from the beginning. We have the blue bottle for that to clean the bowl, right? For exactly that reason, and because people will call us and they'll need a seal replacement, and they don't understand. And then I see whatever caustic, thing of Clorox next to the toilet. Like, no, that's the worst thing you can do for your toilet and your tank, right?
Yep.
And so we use that, and then like I just told you, we're using the next treatment while we're going to be gone to let it marinate, as you said.
Yep.
And then once a year to once every 2 years, I will have somebody. I got rid of my own tank jetting equipment because I don't ever want to do that again. But every now and then, yeah, I'll have somebody come out and do it just to do it, right? And so it's kind of one of these things where you have to look at it like good, better, and best.
Yep.
It's tons of water. Hey, that's good. Using your tank treatment regularly, that's even better. Once a year, taking that extra step to throw the whole bottle in there or to have that's even better, right? Yep. So there's not, it's a spectrum of things you can do to take care of your tanks.
Yep.
Which if there's one thing I've learned about RVs and prescribing RV maintenance, is that is a very difficult argument to make. That hey, you have to take these steps. When I get up here and I say, hey, you got to check your roof seals every 90 days, people will come after me, and it's brutal every single time. Every time, guys. And it's all right, cool.
I would add to that, you don't have to do any of these things, but you will eventually pay the price of not doing these things. And I say this to people all the time because, we were just down at an event in Lake Havasu, and these are kind of desert folks. It's hot down there. It's dry. They're boondocking, and some of them get morally outraged when you say you should dump your tanks once a week. Well, how can I? I'm out here in the middle of nowhere. It's hot. It's dusty. I can't take it in. And my answer to them is, that's fine. You can do that, but just know that you will not be able to camp in an environment without odors in that scenario. You're allowing your tank to get septic because you're not using enough water. You're not using a good treatment. So the tank has basically just become full of anaerobic bacteria. And that's fine if you don't want to dump your tank. But just know there's no miracle out there that can make your bad habits not be a problem anymore. So it's your choice to do it or not do it. But if you want to camp kind of in a luxurious style that I like, I'm going to do these things because it's not hard. I'm just going to hold my foot pedal down for 10 seconds. I'm going to keep some water in the bowl, and I'm going to use a good product because it's not that hard.
You guys, you organically answered every single question on my list. So that was really good. I do have one last question to ask you, and this came up in our comments recently as we were talking about all these things. That video's got like hundreds of thousands of views where I'm talking about, uh, the RV toilet paper. Two questions, I suppose. First question: do you feel that the RV specific toilet paper is necessary? Second question: what do you say to the people that they only go number one in their toilet, never number two?
Yeah. This is a really easy one to answer. You do not need to use RV specific toilet paper. You can use basically any brand of toilet paper. I will say we have our favorites. We really like Angel Soft. We're also fans of the
Yeah,
Kirkland
Kirkland
brand from
Signature is
Costco.
another really good one as well.
Yep. So you can use any brand. I will say the caveat to that is if you keep your black tank valve closed and if you use a good waste digesting product and if you use plenty of water. But if you're not going to do those things, it doesn't matter what paper you put in, you're going to have problems. Pulp is pulp. And even if it starts to break apart, if you're not using enough water, it's going to create a pyramid. We have videos where we can show ourselves in our clear tank creating pyramids, even in tanks that were valves that were closed by the nature of how the waste kind of splats and builds. So you're going to get pulp no matter what if you're not using a good waste digester and keeping your black tank valve closed and using plenty of water. But if you use those, use any paper you want. And then the second question, what was the second question?
They only use it for number one instead of number two?
Okay. I mean, if you want to take that one, you can. I can take it.
I can certainly take it. When it comes to that one, the manufacturers put in a toilet and a holding tank for a reason. It is not entirely just to use it for number one. It is meant for your comfort to use, and we do recommend using it. We get this one all of the time from almost every event that we get to, where we have people who will not just use it only for number one, they will also do just wild things like paint cans, which they store inside of their shower where they put all of the toilet paper. We've like so many of them. Like you can't even make this stuff up. And like when you also present that with, if you add these things and we show them like the video evidence or the physical evidence in front of them of our ability using the correct kind of products and enough water to break down this thing, you can use your toilet the way it was intended to be used, and it was definitely put there by the manufacturer.
I will add one last little bit to that too, and I am not throwing anybody under a bus here. I'm not being ageist in any way, but I will tell you, when I talk to our customer support team, the people that we hear most frequently from saying, I can only go pee, I can't go poop, or I have to throw my toilet paper in a bucket or in a paint can, they're older people. And I have to say, that's because 30 years ago, that was accurate. They didn't have products that could do what they can do now. And when I talk to younger people, they go, wait, what? You were doing what with paper in a bucket? Like what? Because they're using more modern products like we have nowadays that can do all of these things. So if they're still operating under the 1970s camping model, then they're not wrong. But things have changed, and I would highly encourage them to embrace the new products that are out there that allow you to camp with dignity.
Yes, the technology is there.
I love that slogan. That's going to get reused. Is to camp with dignity. You don't have to camp like a refugee anymore. This is we're in the 21st century. No, Elizabeth was reading these comments to me, and she was mortified. She's like, "Do people actually do this?" And she's like, I couldn't imagine living in this. Like, we have this nice luxury RV, indistinguishable from a house in most ways, right? Like it's we really don't feel any difference living in it. And then we're reading like a lot of these comments where they're talking about like, I've got my bucket and I use that and I empty it. Like, but you have a toilet? And like, it's, I get it. If you're in a boondock situation, you're trying to conserve water. Yep. I can certainly understand why you would make some different choices.
Yep.
But that behavior is not the majority of our viewers all the time.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So it was interesting to see that. And then, with only going pee in the toilet, I was like, I feel like there would be other ramifications of there, not being anything else in there,
Yeah, I
right?
can tell you
Like
for a
when,
fact, urine can also smell awful.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, sometimes urine can smell worse than feces if it's, especially in a really hot tank that's not being treated. It can be really bad. So if they're trying to solve a smell problem, that is not going to solve it. I think a lot of people do the poop in the paper thing because they think of the clog. And to me, it's just funny because, I mean, as when I was a full timer, I don't care how clean those bathrooms were at the campground. I don't want to have to walk over there at 3 a.m. to go to the bathroom. Like I have one
no,
in the RV. It's not, I can honestly tell you, I've camped in the hottest, dankest, worst places you could think of that would make your RV stink. And my family of 4, I never smelled a smell one time following our process. Never once. Like literally in no occasion did I ever smell anything.
right? No, I'm with you on that. And like just trying to think about this logically, I'm like, all right, an average black tank is what, 20 to 30 gallons. I'm like, what do you think 20 gallons of pure urine is going to smell like? Like
Exactly.
like
Yeah.
baking in the Arizona sun.
Right,
Like that
right.
that's like a chemical weapon at that point. So
Yes.
no, no, but all right, guys, we're getting to the end here. I'm really grateful, Chris and Ricky, that you were here. Do you have any closing thoughts you want to share? How can people find you after they listen to our podcast?
Yeah, so we're all over social media, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. If you're looking for like the most technical stuff, go to our YouTube channel because that's where Chris and a bunch of other people that we've done a lot of videos with professional tank cleaners and other experts in the field. We really try to go that extra level. We really want to kind of show all parts and pieces of how you do this stuff. I will also say we have a website called thelineofduty.com where Chris goes like deep dive. So that's where if you want to like repair something or fix something, every little screw that's being turned, every little bolt that's being slid has a shot for it. There's no go ahead and do that and then I'll see you here in 10 minutes. It's step by step kind of stuff. So you can find us online. Our website is uniquecampingmarine.com. Our products are all over the place. You can get them in pretty much any retail location. We're in Walmart. We just got into Menards, so that's exciting. So those will be available. But honestly, I would say this should be like the main takeaway. If you are having a problem, whether it's a smell or a clog or a sensor issue or just some persistent issue you're dealing with, I can honestly tell you it is solvable. It's not something that you have to learn to live with. And if you go to our website, we have guides on how to do it. But more importantly, we have an amazing team of customer support people who will literally live on the phone with you for days until we have helped you solve a problem. They do it all the time. So if you do have a problem, don't just assume you're going to have to live with it. It's part of the RVing experience. We can help you. If our guides can't do it, our customer support will do it, and they won't charge you anything for it. It's all free. We're just there to help.
Right on. That sounds awesome. Well, I'll make sure that there are links to all of this in the description for this video and the podcast. Guys, thanks so much for being here. I really enjoyed talking with you. The sound bites from this are gonna.
Thank you for having us. It was great.
Yeah, very, very much appreciated.